Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Anjani Devi, Associate Professor, Department of Biotechnology, Vignan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research. As you pretty well know that I'm dealing with the course Enzyme Technology, and we are moving towards Unit 5 of this particular course, Enzyme Technology. Your immobilization technique should not reduce the enzyme activity. So immobilization should be aimed at reacting groups outside the active site or catalytic site of the enzyme. As I told you that the immobilization of your enzyme with the support should not disturb your active site containing your catalytic site and binding site. Your active site should not be disturbed. Hence, considering the knowledge of the active site of the particular enzyme helps us to choose a method that would cause least harm to the essential active groups in the active site. So, you need to have proper knowledge about the active site of your enzyme. You need to know about various amino acids that are present in the active site of the enzymes, various functional group of those amino acids available in the active site of the enzyme. Solid support on which your enzyme is going to get immobilized is very crucial, as it plays an important role in retaining the tertiary structure of the enzyme by hydrogen bonding or by forming electron transition complexes. So, your immobilization technique should not change the tertiary structure of your enzyme, which is nothing but your protein. It is a vital factor for minimizing the thermal stability in the immobilized state. Effects due to partition and diffusion has to be taken into consideration while you are studying about the suitable immobilization technique for your enzymes. Coming to the design of your product. Industrial design and configuration of your immobilized enzyme depends upon the type of the product. That means you have to have a proper information of the product what you are going to get from that particular enzymatic reaction. You have to expect, you need to have the proper knowledge about the product that you are going to get through the reaction. Accordingly, you have to select or you have to design your reactor and configure it. I told you that there are two types of products. High value, low volume products. Low value, high volume products. Certain reactions are giving rise to the product which are having highest value, but you are going to get it in very less concentration. That's your high value, low volume product. Under certain conditions, you are going to get your product in high concentration, but your product will be having very less value in the market. That is nothing but your high volume, low value products. So, you have to choose your purification, the amount of purity required. You have to design your downstream processing according to your product what you are going to obtain through that particular reaction. So, in the case of high value, low volume products, purity is an objective because as I told you that the purity is very important in this particular case of your high value, low volume products. Low value, high volume products, the cost effectiveness is the criteria. You have to be very careful with the cost that's going to be incurred during the process. For low value, high volume products, cost relative to the overall process cost is the ultimate objective for the entire product, and ideally immobilized enzymes should be cheap enough to get discarded. But in the case of high value, low volume products, expensive supports and immobilization methods should be used, because ultimately you require ultra pure enzyme in its active form. So you need to use expensive supports. You need to use the very compatible immobilization technique, and ultimately gives a relatively quality advantageous product. Now we need to discuss about reactor designs. So along with this reactor design, chemical kinetics, this reactor design as well as your chemical kinetics are very much important. They are playing very key role during production of various important products at industrial scale. So when you are choosing the production of a product under the laboratory scales, the calculations are different if you are going to mimic the same process during your industrial scale. So whenever you are going for industrial scale production of your chemicals, you need to consider two important parameters. One is your chemical kinetics as well as the second one is your reactor design. These plays a very crucial role in chemical production at industrial scale. The selection of reaction system that operates in a safest and more efficient manner can be the key to the economical success. So, in order to get economical success, your reaction system which you are choosing should operate very safely and in a very efficient manner. Many alternative reactor designs are present. We can design a number of reactors for a same process, but you have to choose economical. You have to see that particular process in an economical way. You have to select that particular design which is more economical for your process. So there are a number of alternative reactor designs proposed for a process. One design may have low reactor cost, but it may have high treatment cost. So you have to check the cost which is related to the reactor design. Sometimes the designing of the reactor may be less costly, but the product what you are getting through the reaction that is taking place in your reactor may be in a contaminated form. You may invest more amount of cost on the treatment of your product. So you have to check the cost of the design as well as the treatments of your products and byproducts. Then after calculating both of these, you have to choose a compatible design. Reactor design uses information, knowledge and experience from a variety of areas such as thermodynamics, chemical kinetics, fluid mechanics, heat transfer, mass transfer and economics while designing a proper reactor. So the person who is going to design a reactor should have a proper knowledge of all these different fields. He has to know about what is the heat transfer or what are the mass transfer limitations that will be present in that particular reactor. He need to know about fluid mechanics. So he need to know about the economics involved in that particular process, in that particular reactor. The reactor configuration in which immobilized enzymes are going to be used for bioconversion depends upon the factors such as form, shape, density, porosity, operational stability, exponential stability of the supporting molecules. So, you need to have proper information about the properties of your Moreover, the ideal support must be very cheap. It should be very inert. That means it should not react with your enzyme. It should be physically strong and stable. And additionally, the preferable support should increase the enzyme specificity, reduce product inhibition, shift the pH optimum to the desired value for the process, discourage the microbial growth and prevent the non-specific absorption. Then only you can get the product, the desired product in a desired concentration. Now, I am going to discuss with you about the basic models of your reactors. There are mainly three basic models. You have known about the batch reactors. You have studied about continuous reactors. You have also studied about plug flow reactors. Coming to the basic reactor designs, first and foremost in which we need to study is nothing but a batch reactor. So, what is a batch reactor? As the name indicates that the process, entire production process is carried out in a batch-wise manner. What do you mean by batch-wise manner? You have considered a reactor. You have added the substrate. You have added the enzyme only once. And then you have allowed the reactor. In the reactor, the reaction is taking place. Ultimately, your product is formed after supplying the ambient conditions and after certain incubation time. Once your product is formed, you are stopping your reactor, you are halting it, and then you are separating your product from the reactor. So, you are adding your substrate and enzyme once, and you are separating your product at the end of the process. So, this is a batch-wise way of production of your required product. So, in a batch reactor, the reactor is charged. That means the reactor is filled to the holes that are available on the top while the reaction is carried out. Nothing else is put in or taken out until the reaction is done. Tank easily heated or cooled by jacket. So these are the main features of your batch reactor. That means you have to bear in your mind that you are adding your substrate and enzyme once and you are not disturbing your reactor till the incubation time or the particular amount of optimum time. You think that the reaction ceases and your product is formed, then you are going to stop your reaction process, you are going to halt your reactor, and then you are going to separate your product only once. This is the case of batch reactor. And then the second basic model is your continuous stirred tank reactor. Here, the reaction is run at steady state, and then the flow rate into the tank as well as the mass flow rate out of the tank should be always in equilibrium. That means the volume of your substrate entering into your reactor, the equal volume of product is removed out of your reactor. Ultimately, the volume is constant in your reactor. A constant volume is maintained during your reaction process. The process is run at steady state and the flow rate in must be equal to the mass flow rate out of your system. Otherwise, the tank will overflow or sometimes it may get emptied also. Moreover, the field assumes a uniform composition throughout the reactor. As I've told you that the fixed amount of your substrate is continuously supplied and fixed amount of your product is continuously removed from your system, there will be uniform composition throughout your reactor. And the exit stream has the same composition as in the tank. Your reaction rate is associated with the final, that means your output concentration. So, in this continuous stirred tank reactor, the reactor equipped with a impeller. So, the reactor will be having an impeller in order to have the uniform mixing of the components that are present in inside the reactor. So, the reactor is equipped with impeller to ensure proper mixing. Dividing the volume of the tank by the average volumetric flow rate throughout the tank gives the residence time or the average amount of time a discrete quantity of reagent spent inside the tank. Now we are going to study about the third basic model of your reactor, which is nothing but your tubular reactor, which we are also representing as PFR, which is nothing but your plug flow reactor. So you can call tubular reactor as plug flow reactor also. So this particular reactor, why we are calling it as a tubular reactor means because the reactor will be in cylindrical shape. So the reactor will be in the form of a long cylindrical tube. The operation will be carried out at steady state as you have studied in continuous stirred tank reactor. Similar to that, your operation is carried out at steady state. And the rate is very high at the inlet to the PFR. So in case of continuous stirred tank reactor, you are going to measure the reaction rate based upon the concentration of your product at your outlet. Whereas in your tubular reactor, the rate is very high at the outlet of the plug flow reactor. In order to continue about your plug flow reactor, no radial variation in the reaction rate. That means there won't be any variation in the concentration of your substrate. So, no radial variation in the reaction rate. That is nothing but your concentration. And the reactor is referred to as plug flow reactor. As I told you that this tubular reactor is also called as plug flow reactor. The concentration changes with length down the reactor. There will be certain concentration changes as you move on from the starting point to the end point of your plug flow reactor. There will be slight variations in the concentration in the reactor. As the concentration of your reagents decreases and the concentration of your products increases, the reaction rate slows down. As we pretty well know that, according to time, the concentration of your substrate will be decreased as it is getting converted into product. So, as there won't be much substrate available for the enzyme in order to convert it into product. So, the reaction rate decreases because of decrease in the concentration of your substrate. The PFR has higher efficiency than a continuous stirred tank reactor of the same volume. Why it is more efficient? Why your PFR is more efficient than your CSTR? That is, given the same space and time, a reaction will proceed to higher percentage completion in the PFR than the CSTR. So, if you under same space and time, higher percentage of completion of reaction can be seen in the case of your PFR than your continuous stirred tank reactor. Here in this slide you can observe the design of various reactors. See, the first one is the design of a batch reactor with complete batch mixing. Here in the first figure, which represents the batch reactor, this reactor is nothing but a vessel containing your substrate, contains your enzyme, and your reactor also contains an impeller which is helping in uniform mixing, so that the substrate can get continuously in contact with your enzyme, which will be facilitating for easy conversion of your substrate into product. Coming to your second figure, this figure is nothing but it's representing the stirred tank reactor. Coming to the third figure, it's representing the fixed bed reactor. Coming to this slide, you can see the figures D, E and F, which are representing fluidized bed reactors, which are in continuous operation mode, and there is a continuous back mixing. When you are talking about continuous mode, your substrate is continuously supplied and your product is continuously removed out of your reactor while proper mixing is carried out. So, the figures G and H represents the continuous operated reactors with plug flow behavior. Coming to the batch reactor, as you know that is the simplest reactor form. These reactors have the simplest design, having just a tank. This is a batch reactor. This is having just a vessel. This is a vessel. Your batch reactor is having simplest design with a vessel which is fitted with a stirrer and a provision for maintaining the temperature of the reaction mixture. As I told you that whenever you are considering an enzymatic reaction, you have to provide certain proper environment and proper environmental conditions to your enzyme. The enzyme needs certain temperature in order to get activated. So, a jacket will be available to the reactor so that you can supply hot water or steam in order to maintain proper temperature for the reaction mixture. So, when you are talking about a batch reactor, it is very simplified form of a reactor which is having facilities like stirrer, along with that a jacket through which you can supply your hot water or steam in order to maintain proper temperature for your reaction mixture. Under these conditions, your enzyme is getting activated and converting your substrate into product. Along with this, what are the other properties of your batch reactor? This is the simplest version of your batch reactor, and this is representing a stirred tank reactor. It involves the mixing of the substrate and soluble enzyme in the tank under continuous stirring mode for a fixed interval of time, after which the reactor is emptied and refilled with the reaction mixture or ingredients again if needed. As I've told you that the name indicates that you are going to produce your required products in a batch mode. So, you are taking a batch, you are considering a batch, you are using the suitable substrate and enzyme, you are providing proper environmental conditions so that the product can be produced. Once after your production of your product is completed, you are going to separate your product, you are going to empty your reactor, and now again if you want to start another batch, refill your tank with the next batch of reactants such as substrate and enzyme. And now batch reactor design equation. We will study about batch reactor design equation. So, as you pretty well know that you are supplying your reactor with certain amount of your substrate. Just consider the moles of your A reacted. Then just consider that the substrate which you had added into the system is A, which is nothing but you have added certain moles of your substrate A. So, moles of A fed, which is represented with concentration, that is nothing but number of moles of substrate A fed into your reactor. So, in order to know how many moles of your reactant or your substrate got consumed, you need to use this particular equation. You have to calculate the moles of A fed into moles of A, that's nothing but your substrate reactant, divided by moles of A fed into the system, which are represented as Na naught into X. This is nothing but your conversion. Now, that certain moles of your A have remained in the reactor. Some moles of your A have been converted and some have been remained in your reactor after certain time period, which you are representing as T. Na can be expressed in terms of Na naught and X. Here you are going to get Na is equal to Na naught minus Na naught into X. So, upon simplification, you are getting Na is equal to Na naught into 1 minus X. We will see the further steps in the next slide. At a particular time period, there will be reduction in your substrate and there will be formation of your product. So, under specific time period, the amount of your substrate getting converted is equal to Ra into V. So, as your substrate is getting consumed, you are denoting as negative, you are designating with negative symbol. dNA by dt is equal to minus Ra into V. For a batch reactor, we are interested in determining how long to leave the reactants in the reactor to achieve a certain conversion of X. So, upon simplification, you are getting the expression as dNA by dt is equal to 0 minus Na naught into dx by dt, which is nothing but the conversion at a specific time period. Since Na naught is constant, minus Na naught into dx by dt is equal to Ra into V. So, ultimately, what we are getting is Na naught into dx by dt is equal to minus Ra into V. So, this is a batch reactor design equation. Now, I want to elaborate your equation. See, T is equal to Na naught into, you are going for the differentiation of dx by minus RAV. So, ultimately what you are getting? The reaction time is equal to T is equal to Na naught into dx by minus Ra into V, where T is your reaction time, which is represented in hours, and N is nothing but your number of moles of substrate at a time period, at the initial time period, that is represented T is equal to 0. And dx is nothing but the conversion, how many moles of your substrate is getting converted per total amount of your substrate supplied into your reactor at specific time. Ra is nothing but the rate of reaction, whereas V is the volume of your reactor. Now, let us have glance on what are the various advantages and disadvantages of batch reactor. Coming to the advantages, as you pretty well know that the batch reactor is the simplest form. So, it is very simplified form of the reactor and makes it one of the most preferable option for that particular react process at small scale. That means if at all you want to carry out a production process at very limited scale, that means if you want to produce a particular required product at small scale, then you can prefer your batch reactor. specifically for highly priced product. So these are mostly suitable for high value, low volume products. And in the situations where continuous operations are not possible due to viscosity of the reaction mixture. So in the process where you think that the continuous increase in the viscosity will be there. So what's the problem with the increase in viscosity? As the reaction proceeds, if the viscosity in the reactor is getting increased, then there will be certain mass transfer limitations. So in the process where there will be increasing in viscosity of the reaction mixture according to time, you need to select the reactor which is nothing but your batch reactor. For that sort of reactions, you need to select your batch reactor. So the major disadvantage with this methodology is that the reaction product remains contaminated with the soluble enzyme, and the possibility of the batch to batch variation of the product always runs high. See, if at all you want to get same type of product, same concentration of the product, similar product from different batches, it won't be always possible. There might be some change in the product properties from batch to batch. Now, let's have a look on membrane reactors. What is a membrane reactor? As the name indicates, you are using a membrane and you are entrapping your enzyme to that membrane. So, let's see this membrane reactors. The problem of contamination of the products by the enzyme in the STR can be overcome by using these membrane reactors. When we are studying about the batch reactors, there I have told you that the disadvantage of this batch reactor is nothing but contamination. So, of your product is getting contaminated with the remnants of your reaction mixture. This particular contamination problem can be rectified by using this particular type of reactor, which is nothing but your membrane reactor. Let's know how this problem can be rectified using this particular reactor. This is the figure related to your membrane reactor. You are having a tank, you are having a membrane. This is nothing but your membrane in which your enzyme is entrapped. This membrane is having your enzyme. Now, after entrapping your enzyme, you are immersing your membrane into your substrate. So, enzyme entrapped with membrane or dialysis tube is directly dipped into the substrate solution present in the tank. So, and the process is carried out exactly the same way as you are taking place in your batch reactor. Then, diffusion governed movement of the substrate and the product across the membrane ensures contamination free release of your product into your tank, which can be emptied batch after batch. So what's happening here is, sometimes in order to rectify the problem of this contamination, you are taking a membrane, you are allowing your enzyme to be entrapped in the membrane, and you are allowing your substrate into your membrane, and your product is getting released out of your membrane. So ultimately, you can get your final product inside the tank, and after certain amount of period, you can remove the entire product. You can separate the entire product from your tank. In this way, you can reduce the problem of product contamination. If the size or distribution limitations do not allow the free access of your substrate to the encapsulated enzyme, the former, which is nothing but your substrate, can be kept within the same compartment of your enzyme, so that the product is allowed outside your compartment where your enzyme is available. With this, you can reduce the contamination problem. These batch membrane reactors can also be used as a semi-continuous membrane reactors by simply making a provision for continuous feeding of your substrate into the reaction tank and exit of your product from the tank. This reactor may often be used in a semi-continuous way using the same enzyme present in the membrane for number of batches which can be made, by which you can make your process economical. So in order to summarize the content, what we have learned in present session, we have studied about what is an enzyme reactor, which is nothing but a vessel containing all the spare parts, accessories that are required for the proper reaction to take place. So you studied about enzyme reactor, you studied about the design and the configuration of reactors, you studied about the properties of enzymes, you dealt with the properties of the enzyme carriers or supports. You have studied about how you can activate your support and how you can attach or immobilize your enzyme with your support. You studied about reactor design. We have also dealt with basic reactor designs. In that, we studied about the batch reactor design and equation that is related to this batch reactor. We have also emphasized upon the membrane reactors. I want you people to work on these questions so that you can assess how far you have understood from today's session. Moreover, I followed these links for today's session. So I want you people also to follow the similar links in order to gain more information about the topics covered in today's session. Thank you.